Okay, so the next budget that we will prepare is the direct materials purchase budget. Okay, so here uh, we will base the data also from the production budget, because what is the number of units needed to be produced for the for the next period is reflected in production budget. And of course, if we will produce that number of units, we need to uh, use direct materials. Okay, so that's why in this case, the number of materials or direct materials to be used in production will be budgeted in this operating budget. So here, after the production budget is completed, the budgets for direct materials, direct labor, and overhead can now be prepared, because if you could notice, the production cost includes direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. Okay, that's why since we have already the production budget, therefore we can prepare now these three budgets as well. Okay, so the direct materials purchases budget is similar in format uh, to that of the production budget. So here it is based on the number of or amount of materials needed for production, and as well as the inventories of direct materials. So here we will also consider the number of materials to be used for the period for the production, any beginning or ending inventories as well of our direct materials. That's why we consider it as having the same format with that of the production budget. So expected direct materials usage is determined by the input-output relationship. So this is normally the technical relationship that exists between the direct materials and the output, meaning to say, if the company desires or expects to produce that number of units, therefore it will correspond also with the number of materials to be used. Remember that direct materials cost is considered to be variable cost, meaning to say they are uh, influenced or they follow the same behavior or number of units depending on the requirement with that of the number of units to be produced. That's why there is what we call the technical relationship between direct materials and the output. Okay, so this relationship is often determined normally by the engineering department or the industrial designer, because here they are the ones who are actually creating the design as well as the required materials that will be used for the production. Okay, so we need the data from or information from this department. Okay, so to determine the expected usage of each material from the production budget, this is by multiplying the amount of materials needed per unit of output times the number of units of output. Okay, so to understand better, so we have here the formula. Okay, so once we uh, determine or once the expected usage is computed, the purchase in terms of number of units are computed as follows. Okay, so expected usage is related to the number of units later that will be required for production. Okay, and then after that, we will now determine the purchases in terms of number of units. It's meaning to say, if this is the number of units that is required or the input that is required to produce that output, then this is also the number of units that is needed to be purchased. Okay, so to determine that, we have the purchases is equal to expected usage plus the ending inventory, the desired ending inventory for our direct materials, minus the beginning inventory for the direct materials. So if you could notice here, the formula for the purchases of direct materials is the same with that of our production budget. Okay, so We also have to take note that the quantity of direct materials in inventory is determined by the firm's inventory policy, the same also with that of or under the production budget. So depending on the policy that they follow, that is what we also have to uh, uh, apply in solving for direct materials purchases budget. Okay, to understand better and to know how to prepare the direct materials purchases budget, so we will use again this illustration from the ABC company. Okay, so again, the company makes the concrete blocks. So each block requires 26 pounds of raw materials. So this raw materials is a mixture of cement, sand, gravel, shale, pumice, and water. Okay, so these are our raw materials, okay, used for producing the blocks. Okay, so that's 26 pounds of the mixture. So to continue, the company's raw materials inventory policy is to have 5 million pounds for our ending inventory for the third and fourth quarters, and 8 million in the ending inventory for the first and second quarters. So thus the desired materials inventory on both January 1 of the year, of the coming year, which we prepare our budget, and January 2022 for the next period is 5 million. Okay, because this is the ending inventory for the fourth quarter. Okay, that's why this will now be the beginning inventory for the beginning of the year. Okay, so each pound of raw materials cost $0.01. Okay, so by the way, since we are talking about direct materials purchases here, so aside from the number of units required, we are now incorporating in the preparation of the budget the cost, the purchase cost. Okay, so this is somewhat the difference between that of the production budget. Okay, so to continue, okay, please recall that from the previous illustration, the budgeted 2.4 units in the first quarter, okay, 6 million in this units in the second quarter, 5.6. Um these are our units to be produced, okay, for each quarter based on the illustration that we have in the previous video lecture for our production budget. Okay, so these are the data. We just forward it. Okay, for the third quarter, that's 5.6, and in the fourth quarter, that's 2 million units. Okay, so for our requirement, number one, we will construct a direct materials purchase budget for the raw materials for the company for their concrete block line for the coming year. We will show the total amounts by quarter and for the total also for the whole year. Second requirement is, what if the company did not provide any desired ending inventory in units and they only relied on an inventory rule? So here the policy is that the desired ending inventory of their raw materials is equal to 2% of the next period's needs. 2% of the next period's needs. So that will be our policy for computing the ending inventory. Okay, further, assume that the budgeted production for quarter 1 of 2022 is equal to 2.2 concrete blocks, and that the beginning inventory of materials for quarter 1 or for the first quarter of 2021 meet the inventory rule. Okay, so construct a direct materials purchase budget showing pounds purchased and purchase cost by quarter and in total for the whole year. So for our solution, okay, so we have here the following. Okay, so here we prepared the direct materials purchases budget for the year 2021. So for the first quarter, our units produced, this one is from the production budget. Okay, this is the units that needs to be produced for this quarter. Again, this data right here is from our production budget. Okay, if you could still remember. Next, this one is the direct materials per unit. Okay, so meaning to say for each block, I would like to reiterate the data. For each concrete block, it needs to have a measure of 26 pounds. Okay, so that's why we multiply it by 26. So that's why our production needs in terms of pounds here, because 26 is in terms of pounds of the mixture of cement, sand, gravel, water, and so on. Okay, so this is the number or the total number of the mixture needed in terms of pounds for the first quarter. Next, we will add the desired ending inventory. So here, our ending inventory, as mentioned in the requirement, is okay here, 8 million pounds in the first and second quarter and 5 million for the third and fourth quarter. So that's why our ending inventory for the first quarter is 8 million. Okay. Next, we will just add, by the way, this ending inventory is also in the form of pounds or in terms of pounds. Okay, so that's why we are able to add these two right here. Okay, so if you will add this, these are our total needs in terms of pounds. Next, for our beginning inventory, so this is also based on our information. Okay, here, desired beginning inventory. Okay, for our ending inventory, okay, please remember, 5 million pounds is our ending inventory for the third and fourth quarter. So therefore, for the first quarter right here, okay, our beginning inventory is from the ending inventory of the previous year. So please take note that our ending inventory in the fourth quarter is 5 million. Okay, so that's why this ending inventory in the fourth quarter of 2020 is 5 million. So we just forward it in the first quarter of 2021. So it is now, or it has become now, our beginning inventory. Okay? So that's why it's 5 million. Next, after deducting this in beginning inventory, so our units to be produced is 65.4 million. Okay, and after that, remember we are preparing for direct materials purchases. So here we will consider the cost, purchase cost per pound, which is 0.01. So we just multiply it to get the total purchase cost. So therefore, for the first quarter, our purchase cost is $654,000. Okay? For the second quarter, so again, this is our units produced from the production budget times the number of pounds required for 1 unit of concrete block. So this is the production needs in terms of pounds. Next, for our desired ending inventory, again based on the given data, 8 million also for the second quarter. So we just add it to get the total needs. Next, our we will deduct the beginning inventory. So again, this 8 million right here, this is from the ending inventory from the first quarter. So the ending inventory of the first quarter will be our beginning inventory for the second quarter. Okay, so that's why it's 8 million. Okay, so after that, the units to be produced is 156 million. And then we will multiply it with the cost per pound. So our total purchase cost for the second quarter is $1,560,000. Next, for the third quarter. So again, the number of units to be produced is from the production budget times the number of pounds per unit of concrete block. So our total production needs is 145,600,000. Next, our desired ending inventory, again based on the given data, that should be 5 million. Okay, and then so the total needs is 150,600,000. Next, our beginning inventory, this 8 million is the ending inventory of the second quarter. Okay, and then the same procedure, multiply with the cost per pound. So our total purchase cost is as follows. The same process will be applied in the fourth quarter and in the total, okay, for the whole year. Okay, so this is how you prepare the direct materials purchases budget. Okay, so this is again just like our production budget, but with the consideration of our purchase cost per pound this time. Okay, so next, for the requirement number 2, okay, so there, if you could remember, we have the ending inventory policy for the company. So here, if the desired ending inventory of blocks is equal to 2% of the next quarter's production needs, then the desired ending inventory for raw materials for each quarter is computed as follows. For the first quarter, our ending inventory is, okay, please take note that this is in terms of pounds. That's why we multiply it by 26 pounds. So 6 million is the next quarter's production needs. Okay, so you could still remember there. Okay, here, the next, we are solving for the first quarter. So the next period is the second quarter. So that's why we base it on 6 million. This is the next quarter's production needs, okay, for the second quarters. That's why this is our basis for the computation of the ending inventory for the first quarter. So again, we will multiply it with the number of pounds needed for each block. So again, that's 26 pounds. Then we will multiply it by 2%. So that's 3,120,000 for the first quarter. The same thing also with second quarter. Our basis here is the third quarter's requirement. Okay, the third quarter, this is based on the fourth quarter's requirement. Okay, and in this case, what about this one? This 2.2 is given in our requirement. Okay, here, production for our budgeted production for quarter 1 of 2022. Okay, this is the next year. Okay, we are preparing for 2021. So here, their budgeted production is 2.2. This is their requirement for the next period. That's why, if you could notice, okay, in our solution right here, for the fourth quarter, it's based on 2.2. This is the requirement for 2022, the next period. Okay, this is where our 2% will be based. Okay, so to prepare for the production budget, okay, using our data and their inventory policy, so we have here the direct materials purchases budget. So actually the same also, the process is the same also with that of the requirement number 1. So here for quarter 1, okay, our units produced is again based on the production budget needed, okay, times 26, which is the number of pounds per unit of concrete block. So this is our production needed in terms of units. Next, our desired ending inventory was computed. Okay, remember in the previous slide, there, you just apply it here. And then, we will add the desired ending inventory and the total needs to get our production needs, to get the total needs. And then for our beginning inventory, okay, so our beginning inventory is the last or the ending inventory of the previous year. So this beginning inventory here is based on 62,400,000 times 2%. Okay, so if you could check that, okay, that's 62,400 times 2%. So that's 1,248,000. Okay, because the ending inventory of 2020 is based on the first quarter requirement of 2021. Okay, that is our rule. That's why it's 1,248,000. Again, this beginning inventory is equal to 62,400,000 times 2%. Okay, based on the rule. Okay, next, we will deduct this 2 to get our units to be produced. And then lastly, we will multiply it with the cost per pound, okay, for the materials. So therefore, our total purchase cost for the first quarter is 642,720. Next, for the second quarter, the same procedure will be followed. Again, our beginning inventory here is from the ending inventory of the previous quarter, and so on for the third and fourth quarter, as well as for the total figures for our direct materials purchases budget. Okay, so this is how you actually prepare our direct materials purchases budget. Okay, so all you have to do is just to follow what is required by the policy.